Welcome to our second live art walk. My name is Lilah Anderson. I'm the Educator of Visual Literacy and Learning for University Museums. And today we're outside of Morrill Hall on a beautiful day in the Anderson Sculpture Garden, and we're going to talk with our assistant curator, Sydney Marshall. So today's theme for the art walk is all about conservation and taking care of all the public art that we often talk about and feature in our art walks. So I want to introduce Sydney, and I have some questions for her, and I want to start by saying, can you introduce our Art on Campus collection, since that's the collection that you care for and conserve, and tell us, even though it's a huge topic, a little bit about the public art at Iowa State.
Yeah, so like Lilah said, I'm the assistant curator. I mostly work with the Art on Campus collection. So that is a really huge aspect of University Museums. University Museums is basically made up of 5 different aspects. We have Christian Peterson Art Museum, the Bernier Art Museum, Farmhouse Museum, the Art on Campus collection, to name just a few of them. And so basically everything that you would see outside on campus, so the sculptures, different murals, any public art, usually that's in front of buildings, within the sculpture garden, just in general on campus, as well as all of the paintings and prints, and any of the 2D works of art that you would see in campus as well, like in the library, in various department buildings, all of that. That's all the public art. It's everywhere. It's one of the largest in the nation, and I am in charge of trying to stay on top of taking care of it and making sure it's all safe and conserved correctly. And it also actually has a collection of maquettes and drawings and preparatory materials, so that's something that's kind of unique, where we have drawings by Christian Peterson, models, and as well as all of the site-specific artworks that are on Iowa State's campus. The artists submitted their preparatory materials as well, so we have that in the collection too. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So, like Sydney said, 2,000 works of art is a lot to maintain, and that's just part of her job responsibilities. So, in your first year at University Museums, how have you gone about determining what and when objects need cleaning or conservation?
Yeah, so it is a lot. It's been overwhelming, but it has been going okay. I had 2 interns this fall and this spring who helped me really get an idea of where everything is located. We have a really big online database, and they were helping to do conservation reports, making sure they're all located in the correct spots with labels, they're dusted correctly, everything like that, and kind of building up our database. And so that has been helpful to me so that I know where everything is. I've been researching the different artists and the different care techniques, because every object has a different method of caring for it, so that is also something I've been working on. And then basically just making protocols for everything and schedules for when we need to be taking care of objects, learning like how to care for the more delicate ones, or the ones that are more I guess in need of constant care rather than just a general checkup every once in a while. So that's kind of been what I've been focusing on in the past year, and will continue to do that.
So you kind of alluded to this in that last answer, but different works of art obviously need different kinds of care. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about some of the more typical processes that you do for sculptures that might involve waxing or cleaning.
Right, so a lot of what I do is making sure everything is consistently cared for, so that we don't need as much like big maintenance projects. And to do that, there are different materials that most of our public art is made of. So we have an example right there. We have terracotta, stone carved sculptures. Over here, we'll walk and see if I can follow. We have many bronze sculptures too. So this is bronze. A lot of Christian Peterson's artworks are bronze, and other public art as well. And most of that is just kind of making sure that they are clean, so that things aren't growing on them. Like this one is on my list to do tomorrow. There are, spider webs or anything that is basically accumulating, right? Because you might not think that that really accumulates. It might get washed off from the rain, but it does kind of build up, and my process is to just make sure that that isn't building up and then causing damage. So that is the first part, is basically cleaning any of the public artworks. If it's a painting that's inside, obviously I'm not washing it, I'm dusting, making sure the frame is in good condition, that kind of stuff. But basically any public art sculptures you wash, and then for metal and bronze, just like you would on your car, you would basically put a layer of wax on it to make sure that the moisture doesn't get in and cause damage over time. So it's basically maintenance that protects it long term, so that we don't have to invest in really large scale conservation projects as frequently.
And do you want to show?
Oh sure, we can go over here.
Well, and we should say this is Harriet Bart, a work by Harriet Bart called Epilogue, just so you know what you're looking at. And we're gonna go over here to look at one of Christian Peterson's, so you can see a better example of something that gets waxed fairly frequently.
So this is just an example of a smaller sculpture by Christian Peterson, but this is something that is waxed about every 6 months or so. Some that would be more frequently used, like if there was a drinking fountain that is bronze, like one of Christian Peterson's, that would obviously need to be waxed more frequently, and that is what makes water bead off of the surface rather than collecting and then causing rusting.
Sounds good. Now, notice, Sydney is allowed to touch the works of art, but everybody else isn't. So we're going to walk over here towards Sydney's whole barrage of tools that she uses, and we're going to ask her about the different processes that are used to clean, and how she decides basically what needs what treatment.
Yeah, so basically most of our materials are pretty kind of everyday topics that we would go through, and this is my wagon that right now has gardening supplies in it, but that is what I carry. Hoses, you need access to water on campus, you need pretty everyday tools as far as like brushing off dirt. This is a condition report kit for our interns that allows them to dust, measure, and clean off plexiglass and glass. As you are washing, basically you're using this Orvis soap, which you need just very little, with a bunch of water, and it's non-ionic, so it doesn't harm the sculptures. And this you would use to clean for the first layer of dirt, and then you're making sure that basically any wax isn't getting mixed in with the dirt that was on the sculpture beforehand. And to wax, we have paste wax, and so this, it smells bad, but it's basically smooth wax that you use a brush, the wax brush, to put on the surface of the sculpture. It's taped here because, like, typical paintbrushes have metal, and you don't want that to scrape up against the bronze statue and then scratch it. So it's taped. The brush is cut to be shorter because it's just easier to like get into the surface and have it be a really kind of stiff surface. And you just apply it to the sculpture. It's also nice to do this in this time of year because the sculpture gets heated up and it makes it easier to spread the wax evenly. You don't want to put too much on because it can start to kind of flake and peel off over time if you get too much on.
Well, and that could be potentially also damaging to something too, right? Or not?
It's not so much damaging, but if it fully flakes off, then you're exposing it to more moisture, and then also it doesn't look great, so that's not good either. And so after you put the wax on and kind of let it seal, you are removing it, and by buffing, so you have, like cloth, and then also buffing brushes like you would have on a shoe polish stand. You have that, so I have a good one. So that's most of my tools. Of course, there are, specialized tools for more intense projects. but that is basically the everyday maintenance supplies that I would need. Oh, and I have more stuff too. I have
down here.
Yeah, for things like stone sculptures like Conversations or like the Fountain of the Four Seasons, you really want to be preventing growth of algae or lichen on there, and that's not so much, you're not going to wax that obviously, but you are washing and scrubbing really gently, and then also I have a chemical that will slowly kill algae over time, and that is with these. This is the power washer, and then that is the hand scraped with the chemical that you put on sculptures like Conversations to let it soak in, and over time then it slowly allows for that to die off, and then you don't have to be so aggressive with scrubbing or use the power washer. The power washer is usually typically for like the pedestals or some of the really sturdy works of art that you can power wash without causing damage.
Awesome. So I thought it would be fun, even though I think it's kind of a difficult question, is if we asked Sydney one of her biggest challenges that she's faced so far in caring for the Art on Campus collection.
Yeah, so, well, especially in this first year, the most difficult part has been figuring out the correct needs of all the art and like which things are the most vulnerable. Doing the initial condition reports of everything is still ongoing. It takes time, and creating all the different protocols basically for each individual work of art, because they all have unique needs and issues that arise that then I have to remember and kind of place reminders for myself to keep checking up on what might be developing over time.
And then probably a more fun question to ask is, what has been a moment that you can tell us about that has been particularly exciting or rewarding?
Sure. So exciting, again, in my first year, it's been great to learn all these different processes. It is kind of interesting when something over time, general maintenance, after a while, no matter how often you do it, isn't enough. Like over time, things will need to be conserved by a professional. So in September, we had a really big project in front of Jardine with Bravo 3 by Bill Barrett, and that was almost a month-long project of me and Francis Miller, who is a professional conservator, worked through basically stripping off some of those layers and protective coatings, repatinating, and basically making it look new and fresh again, and protected from the elements again. So that was a really big project, which has been interesting and fun to learn. And then it's also cool to see all the different acquisition projects for Art on Campus too, because this collection is still growing as different buildings are being built on campus. Student Innovation Center, when remodels are happening in Vet Med and Jardine, so all of those have acquisition projects too, and that's been really a fun part of my job, to kind of help those committees choose a work of art and an artist who can respond to their unique research and needs for their campus art.
We have a question. Have you ever had anything that was damaged beyond repair or needed a complete overhaul, or even had to be removed because it was so badly damaged?
Well, within my first year, no. It depends on if there was something to that extent, it would be a decision of the department and the museum collection, and like the curators and the council, basically, who decides whether they would deaccession or pay for the conservation. So I think that has happened in the past, but it's pretty rare that happens.
Yeah, Quinn and I were filming at Marriage Ring this morning and talking about that vandalism that happened in the 70s and 80s, and that was conserved, and now there's a recast concrete that's outside, and the original is in the building, but I actually don't know the details of that process. But I think it does occasionally happen, that we have things that get very
right. Well, and
damaged.
sometimes it is it might not be damaged to the point of disrepair. It might be a decision of the the acquisition group to that this art that they acquired was only to be part of the collection through its life, right? Like it might not be worth or part of the mission to conserve every few years in perpetuity. I can't say that word. Forever, right? That's part of the thing. If it's in the collection, our goal is to care for it forever. But if it is deaccessioned, it may just be that was part of its original purpose, was to be here and to be taught with for the life of its original state, basically.
So I wanted to give Sydney a chance to kind of add anything else that she wants us to know about the collection, about maintaining it, about maybe something viewers should look for the next time they are on campus. So kind of an open question. And then I think also if there are other questions that folks have, we do have a few minutes. We wanted to take you around to see a few other things in the sculpture garden. But any kind of last thoughts?
Yeah, so I guess last thoughts, keep on the lookout when you're on campus walking around. There's art everywhere. Just kind of keep an eye out. You can look on our online map of a bunch of the art on campus, which is really a new tool that we have that you can look through and get kind of the introduction of all the art on campus. We have the garden has been getting worked on this summer, so that will be another art walk in the future, so I'd say stay out on the lookout for that. And yeah, I guess when you're walking around, remember that acquiring art and teaching through art is always, of course, really important, but that it takes a lot of time and funds and everything to maintain it too, and that's another valuable aspect of museum work too.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And as Sydney mentioned, we are going to do another art walk that focuses on more of the horticulture side of the garden. But we just want to kind of quickly walk you over here so you can get a view of what's been going on in the Anderson Sculpture Garden. There's a lot of new plantings, and we might actually see our intern Ellen is out here working on this. But here's some other sculptures by Christian Peterson.
We have another question.
Okay.
What effect does the sun have on exposed artwork? Do you see evidence of photo bleaching?
Well, it depends on the artwork. In sculptures, I think, it depends. Some of the ones that would be like painted metal, you would see over time a bleaching of that. Like Start to Finish is one project that we're working on that is out in the sun. It was painted steel, basically, and that has faded over time. So that's something where we will be working with a conservator, because I am not qualified to take down and repaint a sculpture. That's not my description of my work. And so that's something where, yeah, you would see that over time. With bronze, with metal, with stone, that's not so much of an issue. And part of that is, that's part of the maintenance that you expect for like a painted sculpture, basically.
Are there special things that have to be done for the harsh Midwest winters and hot summers?
So that is partially with waxing. You would be waxing more frequently because of just moisture in the air. For heat in the summer, no, I don't think anything specific. For winters, that's something where with condition reporting is really important, because it may be that like the stone work, you don't want it to be wet all the time so that it's not freezing and thawing. There's only so much that you can do about it in general, because they are outside sculptures, like it's going to be out in the cold, but really watching those cracks that might appear and making sure that they're not getting any bigger, that kind of thing.
Which again is a big challenge when you have
A lot of
so many.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to just tell them briefly what we're looking at?
Christian Peterson, so 4-H cap and Cornhusker. So that's just part of the permanent collection in the Sculpture Garden now. We do have traveling exhibitions that come through. We're working on one. As soon as we can get it shipped to Iowa, that's we're gonna have another sculpture show here soon, but it's kind of TBD for now. It will come at some point.
Well, and you could show them here.
Yeah, you can see.
Where you might have, she might use like power washing because it's on not the actual sculpture, but
It just is, you know, it's kind of accumulating. There was lichen here that I did treat this with Revive in the fall, and that has died, but like part of this is still dirty and just kind of accumulated growth that the power washer will get rid of.
Well, and then maybe we'll take a quick look at Gwen Morell's bighorn, because this is one that Sydney recently worked on.
Yeah, so basically same situation, it's bronze. So this would be where you would do wash and wax. This one you can see needs more pre-wash wax because that is showing some residue.
Do trees and plants on campus affect works of art?
Yeah, definitely. So if something is, like you can see over there with cornhusker and forage calf, the trees are cut so they're not hanging above them. That happens frequently with like conversations. There is a tree that sometimes will hang over, and then it basically, trees drop little bits of sap, or like their flowers, their leaves has like sweet sap and whatever, and that does not help the sculpture at all, especially with metal. It can kind of corrode, but more frequently it just kind of makes like a sticky film that darkens over time.
Did you want to watch out, or? I want Quinn to just like pan over to the roses because I think they look beautiful right now. These just popped open last week. We've added a whole bunch of new ones. So again, I'll save that for the plant walk, but a little teaser. We can go down and we'll take a quick look at Library Boy and Girl and Solo on the end here. These plinths on the side here may be where other sculptures will go in when we install the new show, or they could be moved to accommodate other sculptures too. Oh, look at it.
So this is an example. So this is a
example.
good example of the work that never ends, basically. So she was just cleaned a week or so ago, but spiders and birds know when you clean things, I think, and they love to go make their house in a clean sculpture. So that's part of the, I guess, fun part of my job is knowing that they know, the spiders know when things are clean. I guess that's a fun fact that I learned.
Do you base decisions of acquisition on Iowa-specific weather conditions?
Well, especially for like the site-specific sculptures that we are commissioning for Art on Campus committees, the artist basically has to respond to that. They make it knowing that it might be outside, it might be in the weather, and so that is something where, you know, we wouldn't acquire and put it outside if we thought it would be in danger, basically. And so that's in their proposal for the site-specific sculptures, they have to address maintenance and the plan for that, and like how they're using materials that would be appropriate for the weather.
Okay, well, do we have any last questions?
That was the last question so far, so.
Well, we're going to sign off here, and we are doing our Facebook Live art walks throughout the summer. So our next one will be in July, and we have our August one that's being planned. So definitely stay tuned for those. We also have a number of YouTube videos that we're releasing that are pre-recorded, so there's less chance of us fumbling around on camera. Anyway, thank you for taking some